think that's
You're recording?
yeah. I'm recording right now. Yep. My video that I did this morning was really my epiphany. Is that um, it like it is a currency. Firstly, secondly, it's no different than like a Starbucks card or a credit card, right? And but the difference is that there are network effects associated with it. So
Yeah.
basically, what that means is that if you get enough gravity in a specific currency, and you layer on top of that financial incentives to stay in the currency, or invite other people into the currency, then that's a business. Period.
Yeah.
And you enable that through blockchain, right? So like the technology doesn't matter. I don't even really care about the technology right now, but when you think about, to me, when I think about it that way, what that means is you have like roughly like 28 to 30% of margin to play around with in affinity groups, because you have like 25% marketing and 3% in credit card fees, right? So if you said, all right, like get rid of the credit card fees, use blockchain.
Minimizing friction.
Exactly. So like for example, here's an example that like I've had in my head today. Is so part of what I want to do with Challenge Goods is you earn points as you work out.
Yep.
Right? So you take those points, you make them redeemable in the Challenge Goods store, right? But then you kind of like convert them into a currency that if your audience gets big enough, they can then spend that in other places, and the currency can be compatible in different stores, right? So you have like these different connectors in stores, right? Like sorry.
Remember I talked about this a little while ago that
loyalty
reward system here, and then we like inherently have made our own like virtual currency that really doesn't mean anything outside of the gates of what we have. And sometimes people like we brainstorm like, what if we allow people to buy more credits, or what if you want to trade them, all that other stuff. But what if you backbone it with like a crypto, or just use crypto technology to back it all?
Right.
I actually think that there's easily a startup out there that just says, hey, there's a coin. We're going to give you an API that lets you, transact for the coin. You can build the coin. You can build the coin as a virtual currency into a wallet that the app owns.
Yeah.
Each there could be sub apps or sub wallets within the app. And if after you hit a certain level, the app then is allowed to transact with other apps, and some, to some degree.
Yeah, my only concern with that is that it doesn't, like, I've never seen like a self-serve platform, with the exception of like WordPress and those types of things, work where you're kind of relying on third parties who aren't great at marketing to build and create their own valuable network, and even
okay. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, okay.
Timing is off a little bit, but I would say that like even like something like paperless post, right? They use a coin system for like XYZ. A lot of dating apps, it's like Tinder. You want to use a super swipe. There's 5 super swipes that show up every day. There's a monetary value to the super swipe. You can buy more super swipes. You can buy like every dating app has a transactional component to it that's like that. There's so many different places that you want that they have these. We're looking at the next startups that want to build those things. They don't want to build these things natively anymore, because it's why create a transactional wallet that you have to maintain the security of it all? What if they lose all the virtual coins at some point, right? What if you are the one kind of holding that security?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right in that you're like a white label crypto platform essentially is what you're suggesting, and I haven't really seen like a white label platform like be huge. With the Shopify as one example, right? But like I haven't really seen like a platform that, kind of, or like Squarespace, right? For example, you have Squarespace. Once you get big enough, you leave Squarespace because there's not enough value to like stay on Squarespace anymore. And that's my only concern with that model, is that it's kind of like
that's like okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So there was a company called Ning back in the day. I don't know if you remember Ning and Kick Apps. Those were the two companies that when social networks were the thing, everybody had to have their like social component, and these were two white label roll your own social networks, right? And what ended up happening was that those companies ended up being marginalized after like the true value kind of subsided, and ultimately the companies that were reliant on them saw that as an add-on, not as a core feature, and they weren't as good at building they weren't good at like kind of building that core technology and moving quickly enough to create enough value for the consumer. So Facebook ended up winning.
But then Facebook came in with Facebook Login, and they did exactly that, but they also had the network effects.
Completely agree.
Yeah. So I mean, so there's two different ways you can look at this. I mean, the one thing I would say is that if you can build enough inertia by creating a coin that like is a free API to every small startup that wants to create a virtual currency, and they all become nuggets of this is like the battle of Bighorn, where you start like you aim for people that need you, right? And then at some point, Nike's gonna say, well, we need to make our point system a little bit more robust, and they're gonna look around and be like, well, like all the reach out to like transact with XYZ currency, we need to be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I just don't. I haven't seen it like. I haven't seen like a company bolt on a feature like this and it be big enough, because at 2 years from now, after Nike's like, oh, this isn't a core to our business and they have to cut it, they're just like, oh, that didn't work, I'm out. And startups.
What about the chat services within like apps? Like people don't build their own chat services for the most part into like like support systems, right? They don't like build a whole new chat system because they're like, if this has been built. There's like a handful of guys that will do this stuff, whether it's screen shares or however crazy you want to get. Like most of these people just use a chat that's already off the shelf.
So like, okay, so let's fast forward. Let's fast forward a year, and nobody wants this stuff anymore. And like, it was cool 12 months ago. It's not cool now. Then what? And all. What's that? What did you say?
The coin goes to zero.
Yeah, exactly. So like. That all that falls apart.
By the way, you're building a startup with any idea that is far-reaching should have like a very small ability to succeed, right? It's like if it was a sure bet, then it would never work. It would never be big enough.
Well, the two factors that I see as valuable in coins, here's like I came to this conclusion: the two fundamental factors that ultimately will we can record this, like we are recording it, and I promise you 2 years out. The two factors. One is it's like Facebook. These are network effects. We are in. I've come to the conclusion that this is like social, in that there's at some point in time there's becomes enough gravity around a certain number of coins that what ends up happening is that you have enough people in a place that there is like. You can't ignore it, and that could be Bitcoin. But like there are network effects to this, fundamental network effects to these coins. Period. So the bigger the coins are, the more valuable they become, and they're not only valuable because of the value in the coin, but they're also valuable because of the audience who's using the coin, right? The people,
Do you need to be the guy that's going to the consumer to get him to transact with the coin?
I absolutely fundamentally believe that you do. Yes.
You believe you do?
Yeah.
I still believe that like something like Tinder 2.0 to Moneyline to anything else that's out there that wants to create virtual currency, wants to build a reward system and virtual currency, at some point inherently don't want to hold.
But they have
to. Not a currency company.
But they're not that valuable, right? Like there's always going to be the most valuable, so for example, right? If Amex bolted on their point system and said, all right, well, third party, you handle our points, and maybe we have like for example. But Amex, so here's what Amex does do, right? Amex does say, or Visa does this, or MasterCard does this. They go to affinity groups. They already have like the brand, right? And then they go to affinity groups and say, all right, affinity group B, college group, you're going to get an affinity card. but the brand is already Amex. The brand is already Visa. The brand, same thing with Facebook Connect.
Yeah, but Moneyline, let's say Moneyline's a big company-ish, small company-ish, but like, or any of the startups that like are well funded, that have like virtual currency, are looking like, how can I help monetize these points, right? And the reality is, we don't have enough. Like, these companies don't have enough inertia to say I'm Amex, and like I want to trade these for Virgin airline flights. We just don't. It's too hard.
Right.
But if you create like some sort of like decentralized network, that works.
I don't think it works. I mean, I fundamentally don't think it works because the user doesn't have a strong association. So here's a perfect example. When Google and Apple Wallet were going to like, you don't need the Amex card logo in Google in Apple Wallet, right? You just don't, right? There's no reason why you did it. You need it. When you remember Coin, their biggest challenge was that basically the brands won't let them scan the card in without the brand there on the card.
Yeah.
Right? So they just won't let it happen. And so because that's the value. The value is in the brand. The value is in the belief in the brand.
Right.
And so...
By the way, I still think it sits in the brand. You know, like, it's still like... The thing is like, we still, like, if you're Tinder, you still have a virtual currency. If you're Coffee Meets Bagels, you still have a virtual currency. I'm a user of both the apps. At some point, you want to be able to transact with one or the other. And maybe that's a shift. Maybe it's something. Maybe they are the same coin. Maybe they're not. But, like, as one user, I own both currently.
Right.
In the dating world.
Right.
And all we're doing is, like, offering the ability to either transfer, add more, convert, something like that.
Yeah, I am not.
I think, by the way,
sorry.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
because I've seen so many of these. I've tried white label businesses before. I've started, like URTV pivoted into being a white label business after like we left YouTube. Like we were like doing URTV, which was like a online video platform. YouTube had the network effects. And then what they did was they rolled out, because they had the people, right? Like whenever you're in a space where network effects are being created, you want the people. The like technology doesn't matter; it gets marginalized. Like you want to create the network effect and own that.
With this, that's different is that you're owning you're transacting with the coin, and the coin becomes your world, right? So, like, whether you call this thing XYZ coin or not, the wallet's everywhere, and the coin itself is what you transact in, and like that's what the network effect. It's not the people; it's the coin.
Right, but the coin doesn't matter to the people. The affinity and the brand does. So the reason why they're using Tinder points is because they love Tinder, and so like the coin. That's why I'm trying to make the bet on. If I started a company, a company that was backed by a coin, I wouldn't even say it's blockchain. I wouldn't even say it's Bitcoin. I would just use that as like, it's like our Mac computers run on Unix. Do you care that it runs on Unix? Not at all, right? Like they just run on like this beautiful interface, and you care about the brand that Mac has created.
I agree with that. And
what I'm saying is that is going to be. That's why I love the credit card business. That's why I love, the one idea that I think about Starbucks. Starbucks has more money than like banks, right? Just sitting in their, that's a currency, right?
Yep.
And
they've done a great job of capturing cash to sit in their node, right? Their payment node.
Right. And so if
it sits there as latent cash.
Right, exactly. And so if Starbucks at some point in time says, okay, let's open up our Starbucks card to go, and like if they back it by blockchain, and you like now your Starbucks app, because it's like it uses blockchain, can then go anywhere, then you're like even more tied into Starbucks.
Are you the one that builds them the blockchain app, or they do it themselves?
They do it themselves. Of course Starbucks does it themselves. Same thing with Amazon. Right, but that allows them to.
But if you're a startup, you're not Amazon or Starbucks. Do you look for someone else to help you build it, And does it help? Does it help that many startups may at one point need a piece of this?
No, because those startups are going to go away because those startups can't figure out the rest of their business, right? Like, you know, like if Google outsourced their like search, then Google wouldn't be Google. If Facebook outsourced their, you know, their social network, they wouldn't be. Same thing with YouTube.